not looking at the quantity of the testimonials, although that can be important on various platforms. What we're looking at this morning is the quality of the testimonial. How do you get a testimonial or a review that actually does what you want it to do? And what you want a review to do is to promote your business. A simple review that says, oh, he was a great lad, or he showed up on time, doesn't really sell your business. It doesn't really do the job for you. So let's have a look. What is the problem, number one, with actually getting testimonials? If we look at this and we break it down, number one, first and foremost, one of the big problems we get is we don't ask for testimonials. And when we do ask, we do it in such a way that it doesn't inspire the customer to actually offer us a testimonial. Quite often it's an aside. It's like, would you mind doing a testimonial? And the customer goes, yeah, sure, I'll do it when you're gone, or I'll do it tomorrow, or whatever. And then it never gets done. So we need to be a little bit more careful about what it is we actually ask for, how we ask for it. We're going to go into detail in a second. How we actually ask for a testimonial, and how we can inspire a customer to actually give us a testimonial. The next thing that we have is people don't know what to say. That's your customers. They don't know what to say. They go, yeah, he was a great lad, and that's it. Or, yeah, he turned up on time. Or, we had Joe Bloggs come and do a rewire for us, and I would highly recommend him. Yeah, these are very basic, simple things, and people don't know how to wordsmith a good review or a good testimonial. And the truth is, if you want a good review or a good testimonial, then you have to take control. You have to be in charge, and you have to, and I don't mean put words in their mouth, and we're going to walk through this in a second. I don't mean put words in their mouth, but in essence, what you are doing is you are coaching or guiding them through to getting the type of things that you actually want from them. The other thing is, when we ask for testimonials, we never tend to follow up. So like I said at the very beginning, we don't ask, or if we do, we ask in a very sort of an offhand sort of, when you get a chance, could you do a testimonial from me? And people go, yeah, I'll do that. And then we never follow up. We never go back around that, and we never go, well, have you done that? We never say, when are you going to do it? We never follow up with either a phone call or an email or a conversation to encourage people to follow out and do what they committed to actually doing. And there's a number of different things we talk about inside the toolbox to help with this, like your AWeber email sequence, and making use of that so that you don't personally have to keep following up. It's great if you can, when you have the time, and you put reminders in your diary and you say, phone that customer and ask them, where's that review that we're going to do? Where's that testimonial that we're going to do? But we don't do these things. We don't do these calls. We don't set these reminders in our email system. So what do we need to do? What should we actually be doing? Well, no, let's go back over. Let's go back over these first and foremost. When I say we don't ask, what is it that stops us? And can I just have some of you just type in, when you get to the end of a project, when you get to the end of a job, what stops you from asking for a testimonial? Now, I'm going to give you the first one, so please don't jump in on that. You forget to. You're so busy wrapping up on the job, you're moving on to the next job, and so on and so forth. So this is the one excuse that a lot of people make, is I forget to do it. We did a great job, I've left, and I forgot to ask for a fucking testimonial. Okay, so I'll give you the first one. You've got to ask. What else is preventing you? What else is stopping you from asking people for testimonials? Let's have some of you type in some information. Now, I'm aware that we have between a 3 to an 11-second delay here on Facebook from the time that I ask the question to the time that you start typing the answer. I get that. So I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee while you guys just think about and type in, what is it that stops you from asking for testimonial? I've got an idea. I've given you the easy excuse that everybody has, and the easy excuse is I forgot. I got so wrapped up in packing up the tools and getting out the door and moving on to the next job that I forgot. So I got that. Richard Bartley says, never crossed my mind. That's an interesting one. Number one, if you're marketing your business, and this is a funny thing about me. And you guys should all be the same. I'm going to give you this first and foremost. It is a funny thing about me, and I get this in my family. I get this with Leela. I get this with people that I work with on the speaker circuit and all of that. Is that I see the fucking marketing opportunity in everything, and it could be stupid. It could be like I'm staying at a hotel and they're not serving the breakfast the right way or something, and I look at shit. You know what? If they just did X, Y, Z, then this would happen. I look at in a restaurant and I think, you know, you look around and you think the tables are only half full in a restaurant. I think, how could I fill this? And, you know, why don't people actually, you know, visit the table and take contact details so that they can actually, you know, market to people? So I'm constantly thinking, and this is what I'm sorry, just in response to Richard Bartley's comment, never crossed my mind to ask, is that you need to switch on to be a marketer. You've got to be thinking all the time, what could I be doing to improve my visibility, my positioning in my local community? This P in the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint, the second part of the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint is positioning. And you should be switched on all the time thinking. And I know this is a learned skill. You've got to turn it on. You've got to turn it on. You've got to hone this as a skill. But you should be looking at every single opportunity to market yourself. And you should be thinking, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? And in your processes, in terms of testimonials, you know, testimonials and referrals, everybody talks bullshit about word of mouth marketing. Testimonials and referrals are the engine of word of mouth marketing, but it needs working on. So you should constantly, Richard, be thinking about asking for testimonials and referrals, and you should always be looking for opportunities that make you shine, so that they're the ones that stick in the customer's head, so that they're the ones that go, yeah, he deserves a referral for that, he deserves a testimonial for that. So TJ Mangan, people are reviewed out. That's an interesting one as well, TJ. Where are you getting that from? Because for me, that's your mindset. You know, you cannot say that people are reviewed out. All you've got to do is look at things like TripAdvisor, look at things like Google My Business. People aren't reviewed out. People will do reviews. They just need the right encouragement to do it. So if you have a mindset saying people are reviewed out, I'm not going to ask because I'm not going to embarrass myself. I'm not going to upset people because they're reviewed out. I'll call that out and I'll say, you know, crap, because people are not reviewed out. People will do reviews and will do testimonials. My view is the problem with it is they don't know what to do. I'll give you an example. I was asked for a testimonial yesterday. I was asked if I would give somebody else a testimonial yesterday. So here's the thing. When that happens with me, and I'm relatively busy, right? When that happens with me, I know that what makes a good review. Okay, I know what will help a person in a review. And the biggest thing is, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, is it's about handling objections. So I will always go back. If somebody says to me, James, can you do a testimonial for me, like Gary Pratton or Dan McAdam or the accountant Amajit or Carl Fossier, if anybody like that, if they come to me and say, James, can you do a testimonial for me? I will always go back to them and say, would you draft something for me to look at? And then I will edit it and sign it off. The reason that I do that is because they know in their business what they want to cover off in a testimonial. What are the objections? What do they want to have said? Now, you can't always do that with your customers, but we have a process that you can go through to get the right type of testimonial. So I don't think people are reviewed out. I think what it is, people just don't know really what to say or how to do a testimonial. So if they're given some indication, if they're given some direction, if they're given some a process to follow, then they're more likely to actually do it. Interesting stat from Gary. Gary says that thousands of reviews are added to Amazon every day. Yeah, people are not reviewed out. So again, a mindset issue, TJ. I think if you examine that, you'll find that people will give reviews. So Ben Saunders says, I don't know how to approach it. I've been considering leaving them a card with a QR code on. Though, yeah, okay. And that, again, this comes back to personal, not knowing how to approach it. But then if you build into your marketing strategy how you're going to do this, then it just becomes habitual, doesn't it? If we sit back and say, I don't know how to do it, so I'm just going to leave it, then we just leave it. But during your marketing hour, whenever your marketing hour is, whenever it is you actually plan to do that, you sit down and you strategize and you think to yourself, right, how am I going to ask people for referrals? What am I going to do? Am I going to ask at the end of a job? We're going to talk about all this in a minute. Am I going to ask at the end of a job? Am I going to send them a card? Am I going to give them a QR code? Am I going to send them out an email? What am I going to do? And you put that process in state. And by the way, you shouldn't just do it one way. There should be multiple ways. Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. But then you put that process in place. Now you've done away with the question of how am I going to do it. You're now doing it because you have a process in place, and now it's a matter of fine tuning the process. You look at the process and you say, well, this didn't work, or that didn't work, or they did respond to that, so we'll do more of that. But without having a process in place, you can't adjust it. You get a process up and running, and then you adjust from there. So yeah, work out a process. Think about how many different ways you can ask for, look for, search for testimonials, referrals, reviews, and then put that process in place and then fine tune it. Right. Okay. What should you do? Testimonials. First and foremost, be descriptive. When you are setting your questions for a testimonial, encourage your customers not to just do one-line reviews or testimonials. Encourage them to be descriptive in their testimonial. Now, when we talk testimonial or we talk about a case study is about handling various different aspects of what it was, the problem was that you solved for the customer. And this is 9 times out of 10 going to be the issue, right? The issue is the customer was looking for a person to put a socket on, let's say. But that's not the overriding problem. The problem is, who are they going to choose? Can they trust that individual? Are they going to show up and do what they said they're going to do? Are they going to communicate with me? Are they going to rip me off? These are all the things that go through a customer's head. The actual socket on the wall is merely the task at hand. So when you get them to be descriptive, you want them to be descriptive of, what was I concerned about? I wanted somebody to do a socket, right? That's great. That's any fucking electrician can stick a socket on a wall. But what was going through their head at the time? At the time, they were thinking to themselves, I need this socket done, but can I trust the person that's coming into my house? Are they going to be flexible as far as time is concerned? Because I can't get time off work. Is their pricing going to be reasonable? There's a difference between reasonable and cheap. Okay, understand that. Are they going to communicate with me? These are all the things that go through people's minds. So you need, when you're getting a testimonial or a case study, you need to encourage your customers to discuss those type of things. And there are ways to do that in terms of writing up questionnaires, right? Your testimonial should cover or handle objections. And what are the various different objections that you get from people? Many of the objections are based around price. Some people will say it's about price. It's not. It's about value, but you need to handle that as an objection. Other things are they going to have respect for my property? That can be an objection that people have in their heads. These are the things that people will go, well, if I'm looking at this company and I see that their work is messy, or that they don't pay attention to the way they deliver the quotes, well, is that how they're going to treat my job? Is that how they're going to treat my house? Other objections can be things around timekeeping. So if you don't turn up to do a quote, or if you don't make a phone call when you said you're going to make a phone call, or you don't return a quote on time, then how can they justify, or how can they figure out whether you're actually going to be there on time and do the job, and so on and so forth. So all of these things are objections, and these are the objections that you need to get your customer handling for you in your testimonials. So a pat on the back, like he was a great lad and he did a great job and I'd recommend him, is not a fucking good review. But a review that says, I was concerned. Let me give you a sort of a verbal type of example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. But if a review said something along the lines of, I needed to have the 3 sockets installed in the conservatory so I could convert it to an office. I was concerned that based on the experiences that we've had in the past, that this wasn't going to be a big enough job to get a contractor in to do, because most times when I've asked for small jobs to be done before, people aren't interested. They're more interested in the bigger jobs. I was worried that the being a brand new conservatory and that the floor was just recently laid, that it would get damaged and would get mucked up. But I found John. I found John from ABC Electrical, and he came and did the quote on the Tuesday. It turned up exactly at the time he said he was going to show up, and he talked me through the process of what he was actually going to do and how he was going to carry out the job, which made me feel really comfortable and confident with what he was saying. When they arrived to do the job, they put floor covering down to protect my floor, and they actually managed to get the 3 sockets in with the minimum amount of damage possible. I have to say that John from ABC was not the cheapest quote that we got. There were more expensive, there were cheaper quotes, but he instilled me with such confidence that I chose him for the job. And I have to say, I wasn't let down. Now, how does that sound? Let me see some thumbs, hearts, and smiley faces. If you were getting that kind of a testimonial from your customer, would that really resonate, and would that get you more business than a simple, he showed up on time, did a great job, and we'd have him back again? I'd highly recommend him, right? There's a difference, and you need to encourage that by asking questions, okay? So, you know, as I just went through with the verbal quote, it needs to be descriptive. It needs to handle objections. What are the objections going on in the customer's head? And it needs to mention you by name and or your team and your company name, your business name. Okay. So about written testimonials then. Have them either, this is to be explained, written or emailed. When I say written, either written directly onto the platform that you're going to have it on. Now, if they write it directly onto GMB, that's great. You can still copy and paste it and use that elsewhere, but you still need them to do a descriptive one. And you do that by setting out questions. We'll talk about that in a second. So make sure that if you can encourage them to do it on a review site or a review platform, get it done there. You can always take copies of it afterwards. If it proves too difficult for them to do it on a review platform, have them send you an email with it. And I'm telling you, you'll get many more referrals, testimonials, and reviews if you get them to email it to you, because then it takes away the barrier of them having to put it up on a review site. So of course, in order to get your GMB ratings up, you need a certain number on GMB, and it's great. You should keep pursuing that. But don't lose a testimonial simply because they can't do it on GMB. If they say that they're struggling, if they say that it's difficult, just say, okay, not an issue. Could you email me what it was you were going to say anyway? Great. Now I can repurpose that. I can put that onto a meme. I can create a meme with stars around it. I can create an animated video. I can post it on Facebook. I can post it on Twitter. I can put it on Pinterest. I can put it on TikTok. I can put it on my website. I can use it in a huge number of different places. As I said, I can put a sheet in with the quotes that go out that have different reviews and testimonials on it as well. So yeah, we talked about encouraging them to do it on Google. Other social sites as well. If they struggle with Google, get them to do it on Facebook. You know, having them genuinely do it with their name attached to it is going to help you immensely. So yeah, so Facebook. The nice thing about Facebook is when they post it themselves on Facebook, as opposed to, as well as with Google, when they do it themselves on Facebook, number one, it's known to be genuine because people see that the person has posted. Now, even if they post it on Facebook and then you take a screen grab and you post it elsewhere, the fact that their name and their image and so on and so forth is attached to their review on Facebook, it proves that it's genuine. It's also trackable, and all of your reviews, all of your testimonials should be trackable. In other words, people should be able to identify where the review came from. There should be a genuine name. All of this sort of, you know, Mark from I don't know, or Mark, you know, Mark X. Crap, you know, get Mark Boland or whatever his name is from Gillingham. It's going to be much better. It's going to read much better. It's going to look much better in the public's eyes. And why would people hide the fact that they're giving you a review? Unless, of course, they are fake reviews. Contactable. If you can get a customer who says that they are willing to be contacted to discuss, and you see this again in the toolbox on a number of occasions, people put themselves out there on Facebook and say, yeah, contact me if you want to talk about the toolbox, because I'll tell you my experience. If you can have your customers do that, whether it's on Nextdoor, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Google, and they say, you know, yeah, we were so happy, and I'm you know, they've given the review and they've explained everything, and then at the bottom of it they say, feel free to contact me if you want to know more, if you want to know if this is a genuine review or not. Even better still, if you can encourage that. We've talked about swipe and deploy. Swipe and deploy is simply taking a testimonial from one place, a review from one place, and using it in multiple other places. And here's the thing, I would say it again, I said it at the beginning of the presentation, most of us don't. We lock ourselves in on GMB and we go, oh, how many have I got on GMB? Look, I got 5, I got 7, I got 15, I got 100 reviews. Oh, they're 4-star, they're 5-star. And we leave it at that. How many of you are actually copying those reviews, taking them and posting them in other places, posting them on Facebook, posting them on Twitter? We'll do it, go through it again, Pinterest, TikTok, literature that goes out from your business. There are different places and different ways that you can use the same testimonial, and it all adds values. TJ says, I add links to Google My Business and Facebook when I ask for a review in the follow-up email. Absolutely. And a great thing to do. So, right. The other thing that you need to be aware of, and this goes back to having the prepared questions. This is take control of the situation. When you ask somebody to do a testimonial or a review for you, one of the best ways to ensure that they know how to do it properly and they're not going away. And this goes back to what I said earlier. You know, somebody asked me for a review, then, you know, it's difficult to sit there and go, well, what should I say? How do I say it? What am I trying to do? What do I want to put into it? But if somebody provides me with an outline of what I want or what they want, and I'm happy to do that with people that I know. I'm happy to, like I said, with the likes of Gary and Dan and all these people, they come and ask for a testimonial. I'll say, you draft something, I will read it over and I will amend it, and then I'll put it in my words and I'll send it out. That's fine. I'm happy to do that with people like that. But with customers, what I would do is provide them with a questionnaire. And that questionnaire, for me, gives me all of the information that I want to have in a review. So for example, so a customer can't forget what to put in. You will want things like the customer's name, where the customer is situated, so the town or you know, the area. You want these things in a review or a testimonial, because obviously you're going to use your reviews and testimonials in your marketing, and you want it to appeal to people like the people who wrote the review. So therefore, if people in Gillingham read a review from people in Gillingham, they're more likely to use an electrician who services the Gillingham area, if that makes sense. Got it? So have them in your prepared questions. There should be questions like, so mention your name, mention the area that you're from. Then ask them, what was the problem? What was it that they wanted solved? Now, that would be the initial actual issue. So we wanted to get a quote for a conservatory, or we needed a quote for a rework. Have them ask about the in your questionnaire, ask what was the initial actual problem. Then you want to know, underlying what was the actual problem, what were your concerns about getting an electrician? What were your concerns, right? These kind of things, guys, rather than just a fucking pat on the back, these kind of things are invaluable, because when somebody else reads, I was concerned about the cost, or I was concerned about muddy boots all over my house, or I was concerned about a bad attitude towards my property, or I was when they hear these concerns and they've got the same issues or the same concerns, and then they see that later on in the testimonial or in the review or the case study, they see that you are not that individual. So you ask them, what was the concerns? What were the reasons that you were concerned about getting an electrician in to do the work, or a builder or bricklayer, plumber, whatever the case is? Then you ask, how did you discover us, our company? So how did you discover Kent Electrics? So the customer will then reply, I was searching online, or I heard from word of mouth. Did you have other quotes is another question. So how did you find James, or how did you find Kent Electrics? Well, James was recommended to me from a friend, but we did get other quotes we had 3 other quotes, or we had 5 other quotes, whatever the case is, right? Okay, so then why did you choose Kent Electrics or James? And again, you want them to be using the names. So why did you choose James, right? So now to give you a reason, we chose James because, and this should be answering the questions up above, because we believe that he wouldn't trample all over the house with muddy boots, and he told us what he was going to do, and he explained that he may not be the cheapest, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's why we chose to go with him. Right. So once the work was completed, were you happy with the work, and what was it in particular that you were happy about? So now you are asking questions and you're framing questions. And by the way, guys, I can post up, and I will get onto this. I will post up a list of questions that you can put together in a document that you can send to your customers, or like your help sheets that you can leave with your customer, so that you can say, when you're doing your review or your testimonial, you may want to consider some of these. Now, in nowhere in any of these questions are you asking the customer to say something that they do not agree with or do not like. If they want to, in the questions, if they want to say, well, they were here longer than expected, blah, 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 all that, then they can. You're not lying. You're not putting words in their mouth. You are merely giving them questions to guide them through giving you a reasonable testimonial. Okay, I will formulate the questions, and I'll put it onto a sheet, and we'll upload it into the toolbox, and we'll put it on the Facebook group for you, so that you can have some pre-prepared questions. Remember, you're not telling them what to say. You are merely asking questions that they can answer honestly. And when they answer those questions honestly, the way that it's formulated, it then comes across as a proper case study of the work that you did for them, handling what their problem was, what their concerns were about, how they found you, why they chose you, and what the result of choosing you was. That's a testimonial. That's a review. That's not a pat on the back saying, well done, we'd use them again, or I'd highly recommend them. Big difference, guys. Big, big difference. So, as I already said, questions handle objections. Coach your customer by providing them with the questions and by encouraging them to respond to the questions. Explain to them, don't just give yes and no answers. Please be full in your answers to these questions. I would suggest that when you formulate the questions, and you may have a raft of questions that you come up with. There might be a huge amount of questions that you come up with, but after the initial sort of, who are you, where are you, so like John Smith in Gillingham, after those, I would suggest that you only have 3 to 5 questions. Do not put in fucking 20 questions. Put in open-ended questions. Again, I'll formulate a list of questions that you could ask that would handle various different objections. You don't want every customer handling every objection. What you want is individual customers handling different objections. So if you can have one customer, and this is based on the questions that you give them, they will respond to the questions you give them. So if you have one customer handle a price objection, another customer handle a communication objection, another customer handle a timekeeping objection, then you have a whole range of different testimonials covering off different objections. So only with any given customer, only formulate 3 to 5 questions, there or thereabouts. Too many, and it just becomes a query sheet and a survey rather than a testimonial. Phrase questions, like I said, that you get full answers. So phrase open-ended questions so that they cannot just be yes or no answers. Of course, obviously, when you're asking for referrals or testimonials, consider your ideal customer. This goes back to what Nick was saying earlier. I am not going to be asking people that I believe are price shoppers or people that I believe are bad customers. I'm not going to be asking them to provide me with a testimonial. And also, when I'm framing the questions to the person who's writing the review, I'm actually going to be considering who that review is going to be read by. I said create multiple questions, but you don't ask all the questions. So I will give you a spreadsheet of probably about 10 questions. That doesn't mean you're going to ask all 10 of those questions. You're going to pick from those questions, and you're going to formulate those questions based on the customer that you want to get the objections handled from. Like I said, one customer may handle a timekeeping objection, another customer may handle a price objection, and so on and so forth. Okay, hopefully that's making sense, guys. Let me see some thumbs, hearts, and smiley faces if that is making sense. I've allowed my coffee to go far too cold. And by the way, look at the time. We're pushing on. Right, I'm going to have to get this all wrapped up very, very quickly. Let me see what comments you have. Richard got to go. Okay, appreciate that, Richard. Anybody watching it on replay? Hashtag replay so we know. Gary says, quite easy to get customers to write a review on your website without having them to log in and register. You can build. Yeah, I get all of that. Absolutely great. TJ Mangan says, amazing. Glad you're loving it, mate. Glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so another area. So we've talked about the questionnaire, and I'm going to post up a questionnaire, and that's about written testimonials. What about video testimonials? How many of you would actually benefit greatly from having a video testimonial from your customer? How many of you are actually doing it? We've talked about this before, and I don't see too many people actually getting them. I've seen one or two go out and get them, and it is possible. But again, you have to be careful. You have to go to choose the customer that you're going to ask. You've got to have a good relationship built with that customer. So when doing or asking for, and you should try and get a few video testimonials. If you're looking for a video testimonial, then first and foremost, and this is going to sound odd, but the less preparation that you give the customer, the better. Now, all I'm going to do is say, think about your own anxiety around being on video. 9 times out of 10, most people do not like being on video. So when they're given an opportunity to think about it, they hesitate and they go, oh yeah, well, I can't do that, blah blah blah, and they build up this story in their head. Okay. However, if on the spot, job finished, you're walking out the door and you say, oh, by the way, would you do me a favor? Could we just shoot a very quick video testimonial? And you're saying it as you're taking the phone out. You're expecting it. It's not something that you're going, oh, please, possibly, could you? You do it with confidence. Okay. Now, look, fucking roving cameras and news people and everything, they do this all the freaking time. They're walking down the street, they pull up Joe Blogs, stick your camera in his face and say, your opinion on, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because they know that if they go across to the person and say, oh, we're going to pan to you in a few minutes, and when we come to you, can you tell us your views? Now person goes inside their fucking head and they start, whereas if you're caught by surprise, and I don't mean be nasty about it, I mean just be confident. Choose your customer. You will know by the relationship that you build with them over the course of the work and the job, how outgoing they are, what they're likely to say, all of that kind of thing. So choose the person first and foremost, but then don't give them a long time to think about it. As I said, when you're walking out, you're just about done. You're walking out the door and you say, oh, by the way, remember we spoke about doing a review or a testimony. Would you mind just doing a few words on camera for me? Very quickly. Now, again, you will have, or you should have, your prepared list of fucking questions. So you ask the question, point the camera at the customer, ask the next question, have them answer the next question, ask the next question, have them answer the next question, get them to pause in between, so that what you can do is you can edit out you asking the questions. Look at again at the toolbox testimonials, the reviews that people have done. In fact, I should pull one. I might try and play it at the end here. One of James Raby doing a testimonial. Same situation. Question asked, question answer, question asked, question answer. But you edit it in such a way that it's just the person talking. I will actually try and pull that up. Give me a moment when we get towards the end of this presentation, and I'll see if I can pull that up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So don't script the presentation, but do have questions prepared. If you need reminders of the questions, have some post-its already prepared so that you can actually stick them up just close to where you're actually going to record it, so you can ask the questions. Again, remember 3 to 5 questions maximum. Don't overdo the questions. Number 3, be yourself. The more you are yourself when you're talking to the customer about it and asking questions, the more relaxed they will be. If you start getting hyped up and start thinking, oh shit, I got to do, then they're going to get the same. So you need to just relax and be yourself. Don't be afraid to look directly at the lens if you are actually going to be on camera, and encourage them to look at the lens as well. Not necessarily stare down the lens, but look at you for a second, look at the lens for a second, look at you for a second, look at the lens for a second. It will put them at ease rather than have them staring down the lens like a scared rabbit. Okay, when do you ask? Well, for a video one, like I said, take them by surprise straight after the job. But for a written one, exactly the same. You pre-frame it before the job, you ask straight after the job. That's a verbal request. Then you follow up with an email a week or so later. I wouldn't leave it much longer than a week, that you send out an email reminding them of the testimonial that they could do. And you in the email, then you can provide your links and so on and so forth to your GMB, to your Facebook, and a request. If they find it difficult to do the review, could they just email it to you? Because once you've got the email, you can repurpose that and use it. And like I said, I would rather just have the email than not have them do it at all because they find it difficult to get on Google or anything like that.